Whose values are these anyway? Hi again, and welcome back to the Parenthood and Relationship Podcast. Today, we're diving into something that sounds straightforward, but is actually layered, messy, and deeply personal. We are talking about values, and more specifically, whose values are you parenting from? Because here's the hard truth. A lot of us are trying to parent with intention, but we're using scripts that we never chose. We're building families that don't always feel like ours. They just feel familiar, safe, or maybe even obligatory. We may say things like, I just want to raise respectful kids. I want my partner to take responsibility. I want our family to have boundaries. But underneath those words, there's often a deeper question. Where did this value come from? Do I still believe it? Or am I just repeating it because it's all I've ever known, it's all I've ever heard? So in this episode, we're going to explore what values really are. We're going to look at how we inherit our values without even realizing it. And then we're going to start the process of choosing our values that are actually reflective of the kind of family that we want to build, not the one that we were once expected to build. Let's begin. Hi there. If this is your first time here, welcome to the Parenthood and Relationship Podcast. I'm your host, Markella Kaplani, a psychologist, a parenthood and relationship coach, and a parent myself. Together, we explore the transformative journey of parenthood and its profound impact on our relationship with ourselves, our partners, and our children, so that we can be present and show up as we envision without having to do more. Let's get into today's episode. What are values really? Let's not overcomplicate this. Values are the internal compass that guides how we make decisions, how we relate to others, and how we respond to challenges. They're not buzzwords. They're not aspirational slogans. They are the principles you actually live by, especially when you're tired, triggered, or under pressure. So while it may be lovely to say, I value patience, if what actually happens during hard moments is yelling or avoidance or over-explaining, that's data. That's the real value system in motion. And that's okay. This isn't about perfection or about blame. This is about awareness. Most of our values aren't consciously chosen. They're absorbed from how our parents reacted to failure, what they praised or punished, what they shamed even in a subtle manner, what your community told you about what makes a good woman, a noble man, a perfect mother or father, what the religion or the school system said and how you were shaped by it. So if you grew up with the message that being useful is what makes you lovable, you might now find yourself parenting in a way that values performance over presence, even though you say that you want to be present. Maybe you find yourself always needing to do something, needing your kids to turn out right. Or maybe your childhood home valued emotional suppression. Tears were too much and vulnerability wasn't modeled. If that's the case, you might now struggle to validate your child's feelings even though you desperately want to. This is exactly how unspoken values run the show. Here are a few questions that will help you identify the values that you may have inherited without realizing. Growing up, what is it that made a good person in your home? Was it obedience, cleanliness, self-sacrifice, academic success? What is it that got punished, directly or indirectly? Was it anger, laziness, sensitivity? What were the golden rules of family, spoken or unspoken? Could it be, don't rock the boat? Or, we don't talk about that? Maybe it was, family comes first, even if it hurts. Now, after you've answered these questions, ask yourself, do I believe those things? Because you are allowed to outgrow inherited values. and you're not betraying your parents or your family if you do. So, I want to give you a simple framework that many of my clients find helpful when they're trying to define their own family values. It's called keep, rewrite, release. Take a sheet of paper and divide it into 3 columns. The first one is keep. These are values you've inherited that you still believe in. Maybe your family taught you empathy. Maybe they taught you resilience or to have humor during hard times. Moving on to the second column, you will title it rewrite. These are the values that you want to shift the tone of. For example, respect in your childhood may have meant fear and silence. Now, you may still want respect, but you might want to redefine it as mutual understanding and boundaries. The word stays, but the meaning matures. The third column we're going to name release. These are values or scripts that you no longer want to carry. Maybe it's the belief that resting is lazy, that men shouldn't cry, that parenting is a competition. You're allowed to release them, even if it feels disloyal at first. Here's what this looks like in real life. Let me give you a quick example. A couple that I worked with came in saying, "We want to raise respectful kids." And that's noble. But when we unpacked it, their definitions of respect were completely different from one another. What she meant was expressing feelings without hurting others. What he meant was doing what you're told without questioning authority. Both were coming from childhood experiences. Both were valid, but they had to consciously decide what version of respect did they want to really teach their family. That conversation changed everything for them because they weren't just reacting anymore. They were choosing, and they were finally speaking the same language. They decided upon a definition of respect that was common, so they can have a common ground and a common way to embody and then resonate this value that they've chosen. Therefore, I want to leave you with this. It's easy to say we want to raise kind kids. We want to be intentional, present parents. But kindness, presence, intentionality, responsibility, rest, these are not just traits. They are values. And so they require definition, alignment, and most importantly, repetition. You don't need a manifesto. You need a mirror and the courage to say, this is the family that I want to build, even if it looks different from where I came from. It doesn't negate my childhood or my parents' efforts. Next week, we're going to talk about what happens when you feel like you're the only one trying to build that vision. Because sometimes the burden of cultural transformation lands on one partner more so than the other. That's a reality, and it can be heavy. But there is a way to carry it without burning out. And so I'll meet you there. As always, if you want to go deeper with this work, the Sunday Reconnect is my newsletter that you will find at markelakaplani.com/newsletter. In there, I include one insight, one reset, and one exclusive tool that you can take home and really apply what we talked about in each episode. This week, you can expect to get a simple worksheet with the columns that we talked about: keep, rewrite, release, so that you can print it easily and then apply it immediately. Thank you for being here, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care of yourself, and remember, you're already doing an amazing job. I'll see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.